You are watching Jenny's Biblical Messages, and we are on day 2 of learning about the book of Esther today. Yesterday, we went through chapters 1 and 2, and just as a small recap, we ended with Mordecai, the cousin of Esther, who is now the queen. Mordecai hears 2 officers at the king's gate talking about and plotting how they're going to assassinate the king. So Mordecai goes to Esther, the queen, his cousin, tells him about this plot, and then Esther then tells the king, and these 2 men end up being killed by King Xerxes. So today we're starting off in chapter 3. We're going to go through chapters 3 and 4. And 3 starts off with this man, Haman. And we're going to find out that Haman is evil. He's this evil man. But we don't know that yet. So at this point, he's appointed as the prime minister of Persia. So he is under King Xerxes. He's the prime minister, and he gets to make laws, take laws away. He gets to kind of be in charge. So we're going to start off in chapter 3, verses 2 and 3 right now. I'm going to read to you. All the royal officials at the king's gate knelt down and paid honor to Haman, which this was something that they did back in those days. He was now appointed a high official in this area under King Xerxes, and now when he comes out, everybody is kneeling down to him to show their respect for him. But Mordecai would not kneel down to pay his honor. Then the royal officials at the king's gate asked Mordecai, "Why do you disobey the king's command?" So this made Haman furious that Mordecai would not kneel down for him. And Mordecai was not going to do that because he doesn't kneel down for anybody except for God. He sees this as being almost like an idol or a pagan god, because people are kneeling down to him and treating him like he is a god. But he is not a god, he is man. And so Mordecai refuses to kneel down for him. So this makes Haman furious, like I just said, and he decides to not only kill Mordecai, but kill all of the Jews in that area. So Haman went to King Xerxes about the people who were disobeying the king's laws, because this was a king's law, and King Xerxes gave Haman permission to do whatever it is that he wanted to do. So what he wanted to do was to kill the Jews, and so King Xerxes is like, that's fine, that's your area, I have appointed you, I trust you to do whatever you feel or deem necessary to do if people are not obeying the laws. So now we're going to start in chapter 4, and I am just going to read through chapter 4, 1 through 2, 4, and verse 8. So when Mordecai learned of all that had been done, so when Mordecai learned that King Xerxes said, "Haman, do what you want," and Haman says, "I'm killing all the Jews," then Mordecai tore his clothes, put on a sackcloth and ashes, and went into the city, wailing loudly and bitterly. So if you can imagine this, now there's this man, he tears off his clothes, he has like rags on, sackcloth on. We hear about this a few times in the Bible. This is when, people are literally taking everything off and they're just wearing like rags, the bare minimum because they're distraught. They're distraught and they're coming to God. This is a way that they come to God, the Jews do in those times. So then not only is he like putting all of this attention on himself by wearing these rags and taking off his clothes, but now he is at the king's gate and he is wailing and crying loud. So as you can imagine, this is a sight to see. This is something that doesn't happen, and he's kind of making a spectacle of himself by doing this. Like if we saw this today, we would say that they're crazy. Think of somebody going to the White House and wearing hardly nothing, and it's all torn up, and then they're just sitting there and crying and wailing. I mean, we would be like, this person has got some mental issues, right? That's what we would think. So when Esther's eunuch and female attendants came to her and told her about Mordecai, she was in great distress. She sent clothes for him to put on instead of his sackcloth, but he would not accept it. So you have to understand at this point, she doesn't know what has happened. She doesn't understand why Mordecai is doing this. She is thinking he is crazy. No, stop it. Stop it. You're my cousin. You cannot behave this way. I am the queen. Put on some clothes, get yourself up, and let's, move on. Because she doesn't understand, she hasn't heard yet that Haman is going to have all the Jews die. Those are her people. So either she has a choice to make here, right? So she is a Jew herself, but nobody knows this at this time. So she can keep this secret and have all of her people die. Or she can come out and confront and say, those are my people. And no, we are not killing them. And if she does that, then she risks death herself. So then Haddock, the eunuch, Esther's eunuch, goes to talk to Mordecai. So Mordecai gives Haddock, I'm sorry, these names are all kind of the same, a copy of the text of the edict for their annihilation, which has been published in Susa to show Esther and explain to her, and he told him to instruct her to go into the king's presence and beg for mercy and plead for him for her people. So at this point, Esther's a little afraid. So she's like, this is where she has this decision to make. But she hasn't even seen the king in 30 days. He calls for her when he wants her. She just doesn't get to go and see him whenever she wants to. This is not an equal rights where the king and queen are working on this together. This is something where she is basically just like a beauty for him and like a reverence for him. She is not like an equal to him. So she doesn't get to go see him unless he has his people come down to her people and say, I am ready to see my wife. And then she goes to him. So by Esther going to him, again, this is going to cause death for her. So when Esther's words were reported to Mordecai, he sent back the answer because she's like, I'm going to die. I can't go see him. And that's what they're going and telling Mordecai. I can't just go and do this. So when it was reported back to Mordecai, he sent back the answer, do not think that because you are in the king's house, you alone of all the Jews will escape. For if you remain silent at this time, relief and deliverance for the Jews will arise from another place. But you and your father's family will perish. And who knows but that you have come to your royal position for such a time as this. Okay, here's her decision. It's becoming apparent to Esther, as what Mordecai says, that she was appointed. God had her appointed the queen for this time right now. And if she chooses to turn her back on her people, in God's eyes, her and her family will all perish, will all go to hell. But if she decides to do the right thing, she may die, but she will go up to heaven because she is doing the right thing for her people. So she has this decision to make, right? So Esther then goes and has her people tell Mordecai's people to go with all of the Jews and to fast for 3 days. And Esther and her attendants also fasted. So they sat and they fasted for 3 days. After the 3 days, Esther would go to the king knowing she could die for approaching him. And that's where we are going to stop today, because we're going to put a little cliffhanger on here, knowing that Esther has this decision to make. And if you want to know before tomorrow, then go ahead and start reading up of what happens, or maybe you've read Esther and you want to know. But she is about to make the decision that she is fasting for 3 days. They're going into prayer. All of the Jews are, all of her attendants are, her eunuch is, and then when she is done, she is going to go to the king, and whatever may be her fate, may be her fate. So, but I want to go over really quickly here that Esther was born for just a time as this. Have you heard that? That's a thing right now that a lot of people say, and maybe they've said it all along through biblical times, but this is where that comes from. That you have come to Christ now. This is your time. You were born for this time, for such a time as this. And we possibly could be in biblical times right now with the coming of Jesus Christ. We don't know that yet or not, but we could be written in the book of Christ right now for this time. So in order for Esther to go through and do what she needs to go through, just like when the end of time comes, we have to make a decision. Are we going to bow down to the Antichrist and say, yes, I believe you because I don't want to die, or I'm too afraid to die, or I'm afraid for my kids to die, or my spouse, or whatever the case may be, whatever they're going to come to us to say? Or are you willing to stand up and say, no, these are my beliefs, this is what I believe in, and if you kill me for it, then you kill me for it. I know I'm going to heaven. And the thing that we have to remember is that was said in here, and what is going on in the world now is, if you choose to do the right thing and to do the godly thing and to die for Christ, you will spend eternity in heaven. If you choose to do the things that the Bible warns us about in the end times, and you choose to turn back on your faith, on your beliefs, on God, on your Lord Jesus Christ, then then maybe you will live longer, but when you die, you will go to hell. So these are some things that we need to overcome. We need to overcome this fear, and we need to do the right thing. And here's just some examples of this. If you aren't willing to do what God is calling you to do, then your fate is going to be like everybody else. You're not going to stand out in the crowd. You're going to be like everybody else. God will replace you with someone who will do his mission. Just like Mordecai says in here, it is verse 14. If you remain silent at this time, relief and deliverance will come for our people, but it will arise in another place, and you and your family will go to hell. That's what he's telling her. Your fate, will be like everybody's else. God will replace you with someone else. You will lose all of your opportunities, and you will miss out on your life's mission. And maybe that is just the thing that you were born to do right now. And this is something that I have to work on. I am very bold here. I am very bold in my everyday life. But when it comes to my family, because I have been struck down so many times, I am not quite as bold. And I wish that I was. And I am praying for that now as we go into the Christmas season. I am praying that as I get with my family and friends and other people, that I will be bold. Even if it sounds crazy or weird or strange to them, because it does, because they don't live the same kind of lifestyle as we live. And so it is my job to at least give them the facts. And what they want to do with those facts is up to them. And I'm going a little over, but I'm going to end with this one thing that I heard yesterday. Us talking to as Christians, talking to our family and friends about Jesus is not us putting Jesus down their throats, as some people would say, or us, judging them for the way they are. It's us merely loving them so much that we want them to at least know their options, and the decision that they make is ultimately up to them. And I think that that's a hard thing to do. And I think that that's hard for me even, that I'm afraid of the decision that the people I love will make. But it would just be like, the example I heard was, you go out in the backyard and you see a poisonous snake out in the backyard, and your friend wants to take her dog out to go to the bathroom. You come back inside, and she goes outside and she actually gets bit by the snake. She comes in and she's going to say to you, there's a snake outside. There's a snake outside and it bit me and I think I'm going to die. And you say, yeah, I know there was a snake outside. I was just out there. I saw him. And what are they going to say? They're going to say, well, why didn't you warn me? Why didn't you tell me that the snake was outside? And you say, I don't know. And every time we have fear, that's what we are doing. We're letting the snake, the devil, bite our friends and family. So good. It's so good. It's so good. If we tell them and they choose not to do what we ask of them, that's their choice. But if we tell them and they get saved, we saved their lives. All right. That's something to think about today. Have a blessed day, everybody.